What do you make of that ship?
I have no idea. Oh, you're back.
Has something happened?
Oh, we've just been seeing a mysterious ship pass by us in this harbor ever since the Civil War started.
It gives me the creeps. It's an old sailing ship that's falling to pieces. It always shows up on foggy nights.
Has it tried to harm you?
No, it's just an eerie sight to see. We sometimes hear screams coming from it as well.
Screams?
Well, not exactly screams, more like really loud muttering. You can hear it even when the ship is way off in the distance.
It says something like, "No, no, not here." Perhaps they're looking for something?
When do you see this ship?
The last time was a night about 2 weeks ago. It always sails across the eastern end of this harbor from north to south.
Where did this fog come from?
Look at that!
Is that what I think it is? It's heading for us!
What do we do? There's nobody on board.
No, don't be so sure. It is haunted by the ghosts of the crew. Ah! You mean this is a ghost ship?
A shame that only the souls of men inhabit this place. I'd happily lay the souls of women to rest.
Ha ha! Guests that yet breathe? A rare honor!
Is he alive? Are you the captain of the ship?
Close! I am actually the acting captain! The real captain is right here at my side. But I suppose you can't see him, can you?
So this is a ghost ship.
Welcome to our pirate ship, the SS Funky Francisca. I am Captain Barbarossa, leader of the Black Blades Naval Force.
The Black Blades?
You must be the Windvester and her companion. A pleasure to meet you.
What?
How do you know of us?
I am a ranking member of the Black Blades. Of course I'm kept abreast of your comings and goings, Vestal. You have made quite a name for yourselves, in fact. Were you not aware? I have looked forward to meeting you in battle one day. I leave the helm to you, me matey. We'll make this a fair fight. Yarr! Yarr! The ship is coming apart! How clumsy of me to step through the deck.
No ghost is that clumsy. He must be alive.
I am indeed the genuine article, a man in the flesh, though the only one among my crew.
Why the ghost ship?
I sail this ship in search of a certain something, prized by the commander and myself.
A certain something?
You might call it adventure. Surely you don't have to be a man of the sea to know that.
I know what you speak of. A man's soul craves nothing more than the romance of adventure.
Well, aren't you two getting on famously, ring a bell?
Perhaps it is something women and children can never understand. If you think about it rationally, it does seem absurd. But absurd or not, it is adventure I seek. And the years I have spent wandering the seas in folly have shown me many truths.
That's it! The truth!
Now, let us have a little fun. See how you fare against my great axe!
Get lost!
Forgive me! give my all!
end this quick!
Follow me!
You and your allies have bested me, Windvestal. Such power. Forgive me, Suleiman. Commander, it seems my time is up.
Hold it! We've got company.
A ghost's trying to get us!
You're a bit slow. They've been lurking around for a while now.
But it spoke to us! It seems to be trying to tell us something.
Almost. We almost made it. The Shieldbearers were on the verge of routing the Swordbearers. We had them surrounded, and their spirits were broken. Then that round little commander unleashed the mist. A green haze began drifting slowly over the battlefield. Then, naught but agony.
Let's end this quick!
He's back.
There were no allies or enemies. All those on the battlefield writhed in the mud and perished, clawing at their throats. I'd never known such pain. Every breath felt like fire, and my vision turned blood red. It was as if countless parasites crawled upon my body. There were no allies or enemies. Together we grasped at breaths, sharing unbearable pain as we met our demise. Qada, the Salve-Maker. That corpulent commander of the Sword-Bearers. He has returned to these lands once more. He had those of us who died from the toxic mist carried to this keep. Then the tests began. Gleeful slicing, all to gauge the effects of his poison. A great success, he said with a smirk. Another breakthrough, as he danced a little jig. There were no allies or enemies. All who died to the mist were sealed within this keep and left to rot. Who knows how long has passed? With excruciating pain, chilling cold, hatred and despair growing within us.
That's terrible. They must pay for this.
I hear voices. There's someone up ahead.
More spirits?
No, I think it's something else.
How fares the cleansing?
We have just completed our work. See for yourself. A perfect job, no?
It took you 3 years to cleanse this area. Some weapon that is. Countless meaningless deaths, contaminated land, and what is left? Nothing but lifeless ruin.
Oh, how could you say that, Sword Master? You know nothing of which you speak. To cleanse such a vast area in 3 years would be impossible for anyone but me. My research on the matter continues, and we may be able to reduce the time further.
The master sample of the toxin is in here?
Yes, we have it stored safely.
And there's no danger of it leaking?
Of course not. It is sealed away tight, along with its recipe. Even I, its creator, would not be able to take it from here.
Master.
What do we do? They spoke of a sample of the toxin. It seems something is stored further in.
That's what we need to get hold of.
Qada. Salve-Maker Qada. Do you even comprehend the results of your actions 4 years ago?
The results? Why, I annihilated 100,000 enemy troops, achieving a brilliant victory!
That was no victory. It was a massacre. Our allies caught in the midst, an entire city brought to ruin, turning the area to wasteland for 4 years.
But without my victory, the Swordbearers would be no more. Of that, there is no doubt. A mere 1,000 Swordbearers were killed by accident. A minimal loss. We sacrificed 1,000 to defeat 100,000. Far more effective than conventional war, no? Do you believe you could have achieved similar results by clashing blades, Sword Master? I highly doubt it.
I admit that would be impossible.
He was the one who created the toxic mist.
My master is angered. I have never seen him so enraged.
He's angry? He seems calm enough to me.
What? Can't you sense the rage seething within him? It gives me goosebumps.
The tension is so thick it chokes.
Our objective is not to slaughter our foes. It is to control the crystals and spread anti-crystalism. Do not forget that. I have no need for an efficient method of killing. I forbade you from using this toxic weapon of yours in the first place.
So, you would have me simply let the Swordbearers face defeat? They number just 10,000 against 100,000 Shieldbearers. They did not stand a chance.
And that is because you pressed on ahead without due caution, eager for a quick result. I ordered you to hold the front line, not exterminate our foes.
I merely saw a chance for victory and seized it. I knew we would prevail.
If you thought you ever had a chance against those odds, it only shows you lack a talent for generalship. Blinded by ambition, you misread the enemy, disobeyed my orders, and then slaughtered both enemy and ally alike. You slew them all like dogs. You showed no respect at all for the warriors on either side. How does mindless killing bring anyone to embrace the ideals we uphold? Know this. The next time you disobey my orders for your own selfish ends, you will fall to my sword.
I understand completely. I will not let you down.
I shall return to Starkfort. You stay back and see that the wounded are cared for.
Of course. Who does he think he is, spouting such nonsense? What a hypocrite! There's no place for heroism or pride in war. To seek such things is a fool's errand. I'll show him one day, once I get that sample back.
We can't leave such a deadly substance here.
We should take it back with us.
Right.
An alarm? Watch out! We have company! Let's end this quick!
Now I'm serious!
Take this!
This has only begun!
All right, let's get this back to Commander Goodman.
Who are you? Hey, get over here!
We've been discovered! Run for it!
this is what caused the toxic mist? So it was not magic, but an alchemical concoction. We are in your debt. I'll have our physicians start researching how to make a neutralizing agent.
Wait! Would you consider destroying that sample now?
Agnès?
I understand the need for a cure for the poison, but I would like you to dispose of that sample. Find a method that ensures it can never again be used. You could incinerate it in the lava.
Yes, I see. If there is no danger the toxic mist will be used again, then we have no need to neutralize it. That would also remove the temptation to use the sample to turn the tables on our enemy. I do not have the resolve to say with full confidence that we could prevail without it. Therefore, I will gladly do as you ask, Vestal. Let us throw this master sample into the lava.
I thank you for accommodating my request. I am happy that my words fell on wise ears.
Commander Goodman, we have trouble!
What's wrong?
It's the enemy! They've launched a full-scale assault!
They attack with tremendous force. We may not be able to hold the line if they keep this up.
You seemed okay up to now, though. What happened?
They have begun using Mythril ammunition.
Mythril?
About a year ago, the enemy captured the Mythril Mine we were working.
There was something in my journal about that, come to think of it. Let's see. Here it is. Mythril is a hard metal refined from Mythril ore, mined in Eisenberg. Over 80% of all Mythril in the world is mined in Eisenberg, where it is said precious orichalcum has also been found. Orichalcum is a precious metal unique to Eisenberg, and the hardest material in the known world. It can be used to produce weapons and armor of the highest strength, and it releases great energy when melted at high pressure.
We tried to recapture the mine, but the Sword-Bearers had put children to work down there.
Children?
Yes. I'm sure you've heard tales of canaries being taken into mines as an early warning for dangerous gases. Well, the Sword-Bearers call the children they've abducted and forced into hard labor Canary Boys. When we tried to rescue the children, those cowards used them as human shields and barricaded themselves inside.
Using these Canary Boys to warn of danger? I cannot believe the Black Blades would stoop to such tactics.
It's despicable! Can't let them get away with it! We must do something to save the children!
What are we waiting for then? Let's take back the Mythril Mine.
The mines are crawling with Sword-Bearer soldiers. It would be foolhardy to rush in without support.
Even so, we must take action. You can focus on retaking the mine. We'll rescue the children they're using down there.